I see us having for a long time now been in having been in an existential crisis, a crisis that scholars like John Vervaeke have labeled as a crisis of meaning, certainly. But I
Well,
think it's a
Carl Jung was calling for that in 1950s and 60s. Modern man in search of a soul. So
yes,
yeah, we're
absolutely,
downstream of
absolutely,
that.
yes, absolutely. I think it's just we're in I think the crisis was in its beginnings at that time, particularly the post-industrial era, right around World War I. I would say, uh, that was a massive global traumatic event, and then followed quite shortly in the span as far as history goes by World War II. I mean, that was a massively traumatic event that I think we're still living in the trauma wake of. And that, I'm not using that in terms of like a psychology speak victimization language. I mean, like there was serious deep consequences from that massive sort of worldwide conflagration. Now, and it's interesting because in those times, the magical orders, and there's always an uptick in magical activity right around the time of major, at least in the last 100 years or so, maybe two, right? Because it also ticked up, particularly in France and with Freemasonry in America, right around the time of the American and French Revolution.
Mhm.
So it's almost like there's this part of us that is anticipating confrontation, crisis, meaninglessness, primal fear in the primal body, the oversoul. And we react by, uh, going to esoteric understandings of things. And because so much of what is around us I mean, magic resembles religion. Magic can the politics of a hierarchical order, like something like that, can resemble politics, and those things are around us all the time. But when you step into that world, now you're looking at them with almost a different set of eyes. Okay, you're looking at the body politic. You're looking at forms of devotion and working with metaphysics, thinking about metaphysics. It's a much more esoteric, I would say, phenomenologically based thing where like my experience of these things is what I'm prioritizing because I'm trying to make sense. I'm trying to find a center of gravity in a world that is kind of spinning out of orbit. And by that I don't mean the mundane world necessarily so much as I mean the interior world. So I think that we're there now. The only difference is that now instead of like the printing press, which was throwing gasoline on fire, now we have the internet and we have social media and social media platform and video platform virality that has really, I think,
Well, it's made
muzzled us.
the esoteric exoteric, right? In a
Eh,
way that
it,
people are speaking about it like really openly. And I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is that we kind of hit the wall with psychological understandings of what's going on in society. And so
Absolutely.
people are looking to some deeper explanation, which leads them down the rabbit hole of esotericism, spirituality. And I see even mainstream commentators speaking about the Antichrist, about archons, all this stuff that was really in the occult world for a
Yeah.
lot of years. And you would never hear normies speaking of this stuff, but now it's everywhere. You've got Tucker Carlson speaking about, egregores and the Antichrist. And
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's exotericized it so much as it has commoditized it. It's turned it into a bit of a business, right? And that also that I mean it doesn't necessarily start with New Age spirituality, but certainly that was one of the first, I think, really outstanding examples, at least within recent memory, of the commoditization of spirituality, and not only that, but like turning it into a buffet. This is very, very syncretic, not even syncretic, I would say, like overly eclectic type of spirituality,
Well,
because these
syncretic would insinuate that you've put it together in something like a coherent model, but now
right,
it's just kind of
exactly,
like a mess of potpourri or something.
exactly,
Hasn't been
exactly,
syncretized.
right,
It's just
exactly.
eclectic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole thing. I can tell you as somebody who has devoted themselves to two paths in particular, uh, you there's no way to understand the fullness of esotericism unless you commit to a path and with
Hmm.
real teachers. Now, that's not popular because we have an inherent sense of distrust in authority, and we also have a self-aggrandization that has reached cathedral proportions. And not only that, but we in America, in particular, we're so hyper individualist. We tend to miss the point. We tend to shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times. So you must use discernment and discrimination when you're thinking about joining an esoteric order or something, or stepping in the line of a tradition, the chain of a tradition. But at the same time, you've got to put away your bullshit, because like if all this stuff resonated with you, you wouldn't. There's no reason for you to be there. You're there to change. You shouldn't understand this stuff. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't come like I got it figured out and I'm just waiting for them to give me the piece of paper that has all the secrets of the universe on it. Okay, that's not what this is. And that's what's happened. It's planted this expectation and this very topical understanding of esoteric concepts
Hmm.
in the mainstream mind, and but it's still exoteric. Why? Because they don't understand it. They're
Right.
talking about, they have no
Because
understanding.
right. Yeah, that's what I hear, the podcasts that I've been tuning into that are having these conversations with different people. And obviously there's a lot of interest and maybe there's some element of audience capture there, like they're just speaking to an audience who's hungry for this information.
Mhm.
But every time I hear these guys talking, it is very headline level understanding. They've got all the different buzzwords, but you can tell that nobody's actually engaged in a long-term practice in a particular tradition or lineage to get that true esoteric understanding.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, do you think there's like, is it just more kind of food for the consumers who are hungry for some kind of explanation about what's going on? Or do you think there's a genuine interest? Like from where you are as someone who teaches courses and is there at the conferences, are there younger people who are actually sincerely interested in initiation, following on a path, committing themselves to a particular path?
Well, there's something that you said at the beginning where people are interested in the ideas.
Mhm.
I would say that people are, and you see this in interpersonal relationships nowadays too. People are interested in the idea of initiation. They're interested in the idea of the occult, the esoteric, ceremonial magic. The same way they're interested in the idea of, like, I don't know, a celebrity. But then when you meet that thing and you actually move towards it and you engage with it, well, when the reality shows itself, okay, what this is, then a lot of people, they'll nod their heads and smile and kind of quietly check out because it's asking too much and it's designed to do that. Uh,
Mhm.
Now, that's just a consequence. Again, not I mean, not to dive too much into social commentary, but I'll put it this way: what I find, because I'm also an administrator and a teacher, there's a part of this that I do to obviously support myself, but 50% of this I do completely at like at my own cost, because I'm a member of these initiatory orders where I have to initiate people. I have to, along with a whole other bunch of people who are in my position or similar position. Um, but I have to initiate them. I have to coach them through this stuff. I have to listen to their feedback and sort of be a sounding board for their any ideas or experiences they're having. And I have to test them. I have to teach them in terms of actual written tests and practical tests. So what I see from this entire cross section is a factory installed perceptual filter. It's like a pair of contact lenses that you don't know that you're wearing. And a big part of that is the consumerist identity, which is that if I want to do something, I first have to have the stuff. I first have to look like I do it. I first have to get, case in point, all the shitty tattoos that make me look like, oh, what is this? I have Pythagoras on my arm. I'm a mystic. It's like none of that matters. None of that matters, even a tiny bit. As a matter of fact, you're setting yourself back if you want to do this shit for real. Now,